The signal from the stars. The orbital monitoring station Helios hung in geosynchronous orbit above Earth, its massive sensor arrays constantly scanning the depths of space. Lieutenant Commander Eliza Chen stared at the holographic display, the blue light reflecting off her dark eyes as she sipped her synthetic coffee. 3 years stationed on this glorified listening post, and nothing to show for it except a collection of space dust analyses and routine stellar phenomena reports. Another thrilling night in deep space surveillance, she muttered, rotating the three-dimensional star map with a flick of her wrist. Lieutenant Parker glanced up from his own console with a smirk. "Were you expecting first contact during your shift, Commander?" "A girl can dream, Parker." Eliza was about to continue when a shrill alarm cut through the ambient hum of the station. The holographic display flashed red, coordinates appearing in rapid succession as the computer isolated a signal origin. "What the hell?" Parker's fingers flew across his console. "Commander, we're picking up a transmission. Definitely artificial, definitely not one of ours." Eliza's heartbeat quickened as she moved to his station. "Source: Sector 12 Delta, approximately 37 light-years from Earth. It's repeating on a cycle." Parker looked up, his face pale. "Commander, I think this is it. First contact." Eliza stared at the waveform pulsing across the screen. After centuries of searching the stars, humanity was no longer alone. Alert Director Harrington. Protocol Alpha 1 is now in effect. Within 30 minutes, the command center of Helios was filled with the station's senior staff. Director Julia Harrington, a former admiral with the United Earth Space Command, stood before the main display, arms crossed as she studied the signal pattern. "What do we know?" she asked, her voice carrying the weight of someone who understood the gravity of the moment. "The signal doesn't match any known human communication protocol," Eliza explained. "It's being transmitted on multiple frequencies simultaneously, suggesting whoever sent it wanted to ensure it would be detected. Our AI is attempting to decode it now." As if on cue, the station's artificial intelligence spoke through the overhead speakers. "Translation attempt complete. Confidence level 68%. Playing message." The room fell silent as a voice filled the command center. Not human, but unnervingly comprehensible, translated by the AI into English. The words came in bursts, interspersed with static and alien sounds that the translator couldn't process. "To any species who values life, we warn you. They come. The void consumes all. Our worlds burn. Billions dead. They harvest life itself. We are the last. Coordinates follow. Avoid at all costs." The message repeated, then ended with a series of mathematical sequences that the computer automatically converted into stellar coordinates. "My God," Parker whispered. Director Harrington's expression remained stoic, but her knuckles had turned white where she gripped the edge of the console. "Lieutenant Chen, authenticate this signal. I want to know if it's genuine or some kind of hoax. And prepare a report for Earth Command immediately. This goes straight to the Security Council." 3 days later, Eliza found herself boarding a hypersonic transport to the United Earth Space Command headquarters in Geneva. The authentication protocols had confirmed what they all feared. The signal was real, originating from deep space, and contained information that couldn't possibly have come from human sources. The UESC headquarters was unlike anything Eliza had seen before. Built into the side of Mount Blanc after the climate wars, its titanium and carbon composite structure stretched toward the sky like a spear aimed at the heavens. Security was intense. Eliza underwent 3 separate biometric scans before being escorted to a conference room 50 levels below the surface. Inside, 12 people sat around a circular table. Eliza recognized Admiral Marcus Way, the head of UESC, and several high-ranking military officials. What surprised her was the presence of Dr. Sanjay Kapoor, the renowned xenobiologist, and Professor Elena Vasquez, Earth's leading expert on theoretical alien communication. "Lieutenant Commander Chen." Admiral Wei gestured to an empty seat. "Thank you for joining us. I understand you were the duty officer when the signal was detected. Eliza nodded, taking her seat. Yes, sir. My team completed the initial analysis. A stern-faced woman across the table leaned forward. And you're confident this isn't some kind of misinterpretation? Or worse, a deliberate attempt to provoke a response? General Zhao, our authentication protocols are quite thorough. Director Harrington interjected before Eliza could respond. The signal origin is consistent with an advanced technological civilization. The message contained mathematical concepts that are universal but expressed in ways our systems had difficulty processing. This is genuine. Admiral Wei touched a control panel, and a holographic star map appeared above the table. 3 days ago, we received this warning. Yesterday, our deep space monitoring network detected unusual stellar activity near these coordinates. A section of the map illuminated, showing a star system roughly 40 light-years from Earth. A star has gone dark. Not a supernova, not a natural phenomenon. It simply stopped fusion. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. What could cause that? Eliza asked, unable to contain her scientific curiosity despite the formal setting. Dr. Kapoor cleared his throat. Only a civilization capable of manipulating matter at the subatomic level. The energy requirements alone would be. He shook his head. It's beyond our current understanding. What matters, Admiral Wei continued, is that whatever caused this is moving in a pattern consistent with the warning in the transmission. And based on its trajectory, Earth lies in its path. Eliza felt a chill run down her spine. How long do we have? At its current velocity, 5 years, maybe less. Wei's expression was grim. Which brings us to why you're here, Lieutenant Commander. We're initiating the Phoenix Protocol. Several people at the table shifted uncomfortably. General Zhou's face darkened. Marcus, we haven't even confirmed. We don't have time for confirmation. Wei cut her off. If we wait for absolute certainty, it will be too late. The protocol is our only option. Eliza looked between them, confused. I'm sorry, but what exactly is the Phoenix Protocol? Wei nodded to an aide who handed Eliza a secure tablet. 30 years ago, after the Proxima Centauri expedition discovered ruins of an extinct civilization, Earth began a classified defense initiative. We built ships, warships, unlike anything in our public fleet, equipped with experimental technology, some of it reverse-engineered from the ruins. When the Solar Accords were signed, banning certain weapons technologies, these ships were supposedly decommissioned. But they weren't, Eliza realized, scrolling through the files on the tablet. No, they were hidden, placed in dormant status at a facility in the Kuiper Belt, along with their crews in cryostasis, ready to be awakened if humanity ever faced an existential threat. Wei's eyes were hard. You've been selected to join the mission as our communications specialist. Your experience with the original signal makes you uniquely qualified. Before Eliza could process this information, the conference room door slid open. A man entered, tall, with silver-streaked dark hair and eyes that seemed to evaluate everything in an instant. Despite his civilian clothes, he carried himself with unmistakable military bearing. Admiral Kane, Wei acknowledged with a nod. Thank you for joining us. The newcomer surveyed the room before his gaze settled on Eliza. This is our signal expert. Lieutenant Commander Eliza Chen, Wei confirmed. Commander, meet Admiral James Kane, formerly of UESC Special Operations. He'll be commanding the Phoenix Fleet. Kane studied her for a moment longer. Have you ever been in combat, Commander Chen? No, sir. My background is in xenolinguistics and deep space communications. Good. The Phoenix Protocol isn't about fighting. It's about understanding our enemy and finding their weakness. He turned to address the entire table. I've reviewed the signal and the stellar data. This void entity is advanced, but not omnipotent. The fact that some of the alien species survived to warn us proves they can be evaded, possibly confronted. Eliza found her voice. Sir, with respect, the message specifically warned against engagement. Kane's smile was cold. It also came from a civilization that failed to defend itself. We won't make the same mistake. 3 weeks later, Eliza found herself aboard a stealth transport to the edge of the solar system. The Kuiper Belt facility, codenamed Lazarus, was hidden within a hollowed-out dwarf planet, undetectable even to most military scans. As their ship approached the facility, she got her first glimpse of what humanity had been hiding for 3 decades. Inside a massive artificial cavern floated 7 warships, their sleek black hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light. They were beautiful and terrifying, nothing like the utilitarian vessels of Earth's regular Space Force. The Phoenix fleet, Admiral Kane said from beside her. 7 ships, 7 specialized roles. The flagship is the Prometheus, which you and I will call home for the duration of this mission. How many crew? Eliza asked, still trying to comprehend the scale of the secret that had been kept from humanity. Each ship has a core crew of 50, already in cryostasis. We're waking the command staff now. The rest will be revived in stages as we approach our destination. Kane turned to her. Commander Chen, I need you to understand something. Once we depart, there's no turning back. No reinforcements, no rescue if things go wrong. We are humanity's first and last line of defense. Eliza nodded, fear mingling with determination. I understand, Admiral. Good. He gestured toward the Prometheus, its sleek form dominating the others. Then welcome to the Phoenix Protocol, Commander. We depart in 72 hours. As their shuttle docked with the flagship, Eliza couldn't shake the feeling that she was looking at something that was never meant to exist, a weapon created in fear, hidden in shame, and now their only hope against an enemy they barely understood. In the command center of the Prometheus, holographic displays showed the revived crew preparing the fleet for departure. Engineers ran system diagnostics, tactical officers calibrated weapons that defied conventional physics, and medical staff prepared the cryobase for the long journey ahead. Admiral Kane stood before the assembled command staff, his voice carrying across the bridge. You were chosen for this mission because you are the best humanity has to offer. You agreed to be placed in stasis, separated from your lives and loved ones, because you understood that someday Earth might face a threat it couldn't handle alone. He paused, looking at each officer in turn. That day has come. As the countdown to departure began, Eliza took her station at the communications array. Through the viewing port, she could see Earth, a blue marble suspended in the void, home to 10 billion souls who had no idea what was coming, or that their fate now rested with 7 ships and their crews. Phoenix Fleet. Kane's voice was steady as he gave the order. Prepare for departure. Our mission: find the survivors who sent the warning, learn everything we can about the void, and ensure humanity's survival by any means necessary. The engines of the Prometheus hummed to life, a sound unlike any conventional drive. As the fleet broke formation and accelerated toward the stars, Eliza couldn't help but wonder if they were humanity's salvation, or if they were flying directly into the jaws of extinction. Defiance of the void. The vastness of interstellar space had a way of making time lose all meaning. For Eliza Chen, the journey aboard the Prometheus had become a strange rhythm of duty shifts, analysis of the alien signal, and briefings with Admiral Kane. Most of the crew remained in cryostasis, to be awakened in scheduled rotations or when they reached their destination. 3 months into their journey, the Phoenix fleet maintained perfect formation, their experimental quantum drives pushing the boundaries of physics as they traveled toward the coordinates embedded in the alien distress call. Commander Chen, report to the bridge. The ship's AI voice pulled Eliza from her work analyzing variations in the signal pattern. When she arrived, Admiral Kane stood before the main view screen, studying a stellar map. Captain Rodriguez, the Prometheus's commanding officer, and Dr. Maya Okafor, the fleet's chief xenobiologist, were engaged in intense discussion. You wanted to see me, Admiral? Eliza asked. Kane nodded without looking away from the display. We've detected something. A vessel, approximately 2 light days from our position, on an intercept course. Eliza felt her pulse quicken. One of theirs. Unknown. Its configuration doesn't match the limited data we have on the void entities. He finally turned to face her. But it's definitely not human. Captain Rodriguez brought up a magnified image of the approaching vessel, organic in appearance, with curved lines that reminded Eliza of a nautilus shell. It's small, possibly a scout or courier, and it's broadcasting on frequencies similar to the distress signal. The survivors, Eliza breathed. It could be them. Kane's expression remained cautious. Or a trap. Tactical. Maintain alert status. Commander Chen, prepare to broadcast a greeting on the frequencies they're using. Use the mathematical sequence from the original signal as an authentication code. For the next 6 hours, the Phoenix fleet maintained position as the alien vessel approached. Eliza worked with the ship's AI to craft a message that would identify them as responders to the distress call without revealing too much about their capabilities or origin. "They're hailing us," the communications officer announced. "Receiving transmission." The bridge speakers came to life with a series of harmonic tones, clicks, and what sounded almost like song. The ship's translator processed the alien language, converting it into halting synthetic English. "Human vessels, you have come. The warning reached you. Gratitude flows, but danger follows." Kane stepped forward. "This is Admiral James Kane of the United Earth vessel Prometheus. We received your distress signal and have come to offer assistance." The alien voice paused, then continued. "I am Vashtar, last speaker of the Luminary Conclave. We number only thousands now. Once we were billions. The void consumed our worlds. We flee." Another pause. "Permission to dock. Urgency. Information to share." Kane looked to Eliza, who nodded. The language patterns matched those in the original signal. "I believe they're genuine." After a moment's consideration, Kane agreed. "Permission granted. Escort vessel to docking bay 3. Full security protocols." 2 hours later, Eliza stood beside Admiral Kane in a specially prepared conference room adjacent to the docking bay. Through the transparent barrier, she got her first glimpse of an alien being, tall and slender, with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors with movement. Its 4 limbs were graceful, and what appeared to be tendrils flowed from its head like hair made of light. Dr. Okafor supervised the atmospheric adjustments to allow the alien visitor to breathe comfortably, then signaled that it was safe to proceed. The door slid open, and Vashtar entered, moving with fluid grace despite obvious signs of exhaustion. It, or perhaps they, Eliza wasn't sure about their gender equivalents, carried a small device that pulsed with gentle light. "Speaker Vashtar," Kane greeted with a formal bow. "I am Admiral Kane. This is Lieutenant Commander Chen, who helped decode your message." The alien's tendrils rippled, emitting soft pulses of light. "Your understanding of our language, impressive, for a species we have never encountered." The translator rendered the words with increasing fluency as it adapted to Vashtar's speech patterns. "We have many questions," Eliza said, unable to contain her curiosity. "Your warning spoke of something called the void. What exactly are we facing?" Vashtar placed the device on the table. It projected a holographic image of a massive fleet, ships that appeared to be made of darkness itself, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They came from beyond the galactic rim. No warning, no communication attempts. They simply began to consume. Vashtar's tendrils dimmed. First, they harvest all energy from a star, causing it to die. Then they systematically strip planets of resources, atmosphere, water. Finally, they extract what they call the essence from living beings. Essence. Dr. Okafor leaned forward. Consciousness. Soul. We have no word precise enough. Vashtar's translator struggled. They do not kill for conquest or resources alone. They feed on sentience itself. Kane studied the hologram. How many ships? What are their weaknesses? Hundreds. perhaps thousands. We never saw their full fleet. As for weaknesses, Vashtar hesitated. They are vulnerable during the harvesting process. Their ships must maintain specific formation to extract stellar energy. Disrupt the pattern, and the energy can backfire. Eliza processed this information. You said they came from beyond the rim. Do you know why? What drives them? Hunger. Ancient hunger. They call themselves the Void because they are empty, eternally consuming yet never satisfied. Vashtar looked at each human in turn. Your species is young, but your ships, they carry technologies similar to what our most advanced vessels possessed. How is this possible? Kane exchanged glances with Eliza before answering carefully. We found ruins on a nearby star system, technology left by an ancient civilization. Vashtar's tendrils flared brightly. The architects. You found their legacy. For the first time, something like hope entered the alien's voice. Perhaps it was not coincidence our signal reached your world. Over the next several days, Vashtar shared everything the luminary knew about the Void, their attack patterns, the composition of their ships, and the devastating efficiency with which they had eliminated over a dozen advanced civilizations. The command staff of the Phoenix fleet gathered to assess this information and formulate a strategy. Admiral Kane paced the conference room, reviewing the tactical simulations. Based on Vashtar's intelligence, we have perhaps 3 weeks before the Void fleet completes its current harvesting operation and moves toward the next system, which puts them directly on course for Earth. He gestured to the holographic display. I propose we strike now, while they're engaged in harvesting and vulnerable. Captain Rodriguez frowned. Admiral, we're outnumbered at least 20 to 1. Even with our advanced technology, numbers won't matter if we target the right ships at the right time. Kane interrupted. Vashtar confirmed that the Void fleet operates as a collective network. Their command structure is centralized around 3 primary vessels. Eliza studied the simulation. You want to sever the head from the body. Precisely. Commander. Kane nodded. The Phoenix fleet was designed with specific capabilities. The Prometheus carries prototype quantum phasing weapons that can bypass conventional shields. The Valkyrie can generate a localized singularity. The Osiris has gravity manipulation technology that can disrupt the Void's harvesting formation. You're talking about weapons we've never actually used in combat, Dr. Okafor pointed out. Theoretical applications based on technology we barely understand, which is precisely why the Void won't be prepared for them. Kane's expression hardened. We have one advantage. Surprise. They don't know we're coming, and they've never encountered our weapons technology. After hours of debate, a plan was finalized. The Phoenix fleet would split into 3 task forces. Kane would lead the primary assault on the Void command ships with the Prometheus and the Valkyrie. Captain Rodriguez would command the Osiris and the Athena to disrupt the harvesting formation. The remaining 3 ships would execute a flanking maneuver to cut off any attempt at retreat. As they prepared for battle, Eliza found herself working closely with Vashtar, fine-tuning their ability to monitor and potentially disrupt the Void's communication network. Your Admiral Kane, Vashtar observed as they calibrated the communication array. He carries great darkness within him. Eliza looked up, surprised. What do you mean? His spirit burns with purpose, but also with, I believe your word is revenge. The alien's tendrils pulsed softly. Has your species encountered the Void before? No, Eliza said. At least not that we know of. But the question lingered in her mind. What drove Kane's relentless determination? Was it simply duty, or something more personal? 5 days later, the Phoenix fleet arrived at the edge of the system, where the Void was currently feeding. The sight that greeted them chilled Eliza to her core. A massive swarm of dark ships surrounded the system's star, which had dimmed to a fraction of its former brightness. The planets were being systematically dismantled, pulled apart by forces that defied conventional physics. All ships, battle positions, Kane ordered, his voice steady. Remember your training. Remember Earth. Execute Phase 1. The Phoenix fleet accelerated into the system, their advanced stealth technology keeping them hidden until they were well within striking range. The element of surprise was total. The void ships continued their harvesting operation, unaware of the human fleet closing in. "Weapons hot," Kane commanded. "Target the primary command vessel and fire on my mark." Eliza held her breath as the targeting systems locked onto the largest void ship, a massive construct that seemed to bend light around itself. Fire! The Prometheus unleashed its quantum phasing weapon, a beam of energy that shifted in and out of normal space-time. It passed through the void ship's defenses as if they weren't there, striking at its core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the vessel began to fracture, dark energy spilling from the wound. "All ships, execute your attack runs," Kane ordered as the Void Fleet began to respond to the unexpected threat. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human history. The Phoenix fleet moved with precision born of decades of theoretical training, each ship deploying its specialized weapons to maximum effect. The Valkyrie created miniature singularities that pulled void ships into one another. The Osiris manipulated gravity fields to disrupt the harvesting formation, causing catastrophic energy feedback. But the Void's numerical advantage quickly became apparent. For every ship they destroyed, 3 more moved to replace it. The Phoenix fleet suffered its first casualty when the Athena was caught in a crossfire, its hull breached by weapons that seemed to dissolve matter on contact. "We're losing the initiative," Captain Rodriguez reported, his voice strained. "The Void is adapting to our attack pattern." Kane studied the tactical display, his expression grim. "Deploy the Lazarus Protocol." There was a moment of stunned silence on the bridge. Commander Davis, the tactical officer, looked up in shock. "Sir, that's a last resort measure. The collateral damage." "Execute the order, Commander," Kane said, his voice brooking no argument. Eliza exchanged worried glances with Dr. Okafor. The Lazarus Protocol hadn't been part of the mission briefing. Whatever it was, it clearly concerned the senior staff. As the battle raged around them, the Prometheus broke formation, accelerating toward the dying star at the center of the system. The void ships moved to intercept, but the other Phoenix vessels provided covering fire, creating a corridor for the flagship. "What's happening?" Eliza asked, gripping her console as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. Davis looked troubled as he worked his station. "The Lazarus Protocol. It's a star killer. Or rather, a star resurrector. The Prometheus carries a device that can trigger artificial fusion, causing a star to go supernova. But the process requires direct proximity." Horror dawned on Eliza. "We're flying into the star." "Not quite," Kane said, overhearing her. "The Prometheus will release the catalyst, then execute an emergency quantum jump. The timing must be perfect." As they approached the dying star, Eliza could see the swarm of void ships converging on their position, realizing too late what the humans intended. "Catalyst armed," Davis reported. "Emergency jump coordinates locked." Kane stood at the center of the bridge, watching the star grow larger in the view screen. "For Earth," he said quietly, "deploy catalyst and execute jump." The ship shuddered as the device was launched directly into the star's core. For 3 agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to bend as the Prometheus engaged its quantum drive, tearing a hole in reality just as the star began to convulse. The jump was violent, throwing crew members against bulkheads and shorting out systems across the ship. When they emerged, the Prometheus was on the far side of the system, its hull damaged but intact. On the view screen, they watched as the star exploded with renewed energy, a shockwave of plasma and radiation expanding outward at a significant fraction of light speed. The void ships, caught in the star's gravitational pull as they attempted to complete their harvest, were unable to escape. One by one, they were consumed by the very energy they had sought to steal. "Status report," Kane demanded as the bridge systems came back online. 4 Phoenix ships accounted for, including the Prometheus, Davis reported. The Athena was lost. The Osiris and the Hermes are heavily damaged but operational. And the Void Fleet? Sensors show 87% destroyed or disabled. The remainder are retreating, Admiral. They're actually retreating. A cheer went up from the bridge crew, but Eliza noticed that Kane didn't join in the celebration. Instead, he studied the tactical display, his expression troubled. "They'll be back," he said quietly. This was only one fleet. Vashtar confirmed there are others. In the days that followed, the Phoenix fleet regrouped, conducting emergency repairs while Vashtar's people collected surviving luminary from hidden outposts throughout the system. The alien speaker requested a meeting with Kane and the senior staff, bringing with him several luminary elders. "You have done what we thought impossible," Vashtar said, the translator conveying genuine awe. "For the first time, the Void has tasted defeat." "A temporary victory," Kane replied. "They'll regroup, adapt. Next time, they'll be prepared for our weapons." The eldest of the luminaries stepped forward, its tendrils glowing with a soft blue light. "Perhaps not. We have studied your battle tactics, your technology. There is something unique about your approach." Dr. Okafor leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "The technology you call quantum phasing," the elder explained. "It resembles the theoretical work of our most advanced scientists, work we never had time to implement before the Void came. Combined with our understanding of the Void's collective consciousness, we believe we can develop a weapon that targets their network directly." Kane's interest was piqued. "Go on." "A disruption pulse that severs their connection to the collective. Without it, they are simply vessels, not hunters. They lose purpose, coordination. Like cutting the strings of a puppet," Eliza suggested. "Yes," Vashtar agreed. "But to deploy such a weapon would require approaching their primary nexus, the heart of their fleet." Kane studied the proposal for a long moment. "How long to develop this weapon?" "With your technology and our knowledge, perhaps 3 Earth months." The decision was made. The Phoenix fleet would escort the luminary survivors to a secure location where work could begin on the disruption weapon. Meanwhile, early warning beacons would be placed along the likely approach vectors to Earth, giving humanity time to prepare if the Void regrouped faster than anticipated. As the fleet prepared to depart, Eliza found Admiral Kane alone on the observation deck, staring at the remnants of the battle. "May I join you, Admiral?" she asked. He nodded without turning. "Of course, Commander." Eliza stood beside him, watching as debris from Void ships drifted through space. "Vashtar said something that's been bothering me. He suggested you had personal knowledge of the Void." Kane was silent for a long moment. 30 years ago, I commanded an exploratory mission to a system near the edge of our space. We found ruins, not just any ruins, but the remains of a civilization that had been consumed. There was one survivor, barely alive. Before he died, he showed me visions of what had happened, what was coming. He turned to face her, his eyes haunted. No one believed me. They thought the isolation had affected my judgment. The Phoenix Protocol was created as a contingency, but most considered it a waste of resources. So when the signal came, I was vindicated, yes. But I take no pleasure in it. Kane's gaze returned to the stars. I've spent 3 decades preparing for this enemy, Commander Chen. And now that we face them, I know one thing with absolute certainty. This is just the beginning. As the Phoenix fleet set course for their rendezvous point with the luminary survivors, Eliza reflected on how quickly everything had changed. One moment she had been a communications officer on a quiet listening post. The next, she was part of humanity's first interstellar war. The Void had suffered a defeat, but not a decisive one. The real battle was yet to come, a battle not just for Earth, but for every living, thinking being in the galaxy. And somehow, against all odds, humanity had found itself at the center of that struggle. Eliza looked at the stars streaming past the observation window and made a silent promise. They would not fail. Not while there was still light to push back the darkness. As Admiral Kane had said, this was just the beginning of humanity's defiance against the void.